Hey folks, Marc Sopher here of Sophie's Trophies. Miserable day out today, windy again, really cold. I'm not going out on the water, at least unless the wind dies down. It's about 35 miles an hour right now. So I thought I'd take a second to answer a question that I got the other day when I was coming in the boat launch, and a fellow saw me out on Little Muskego Lake, and I caught a nice pike that day, and it's about 39 inches, and he followed me to the boat launch and said, you know, I've been watching you constantly catch fish, but I noticed you're like throwing musky gear. What is that you're throwing? It doesn't look something I've seen. Well, what I was throwing was just a Booker shallow raider. But what I did, because I was getting follows and no hits that day, I threw a different version of this, what I've done, and I added trailers. Now I don't add like a rubber worm to this back treble hook, because that throws it out of balance and just doesn't look right. What I do is I add a little hook from a spinner, the back of a spinner, you know, rubber. This one's rubber and plastic. You get tinsel like on the Booker spinners. Marabou works really good, especially on those slow jerk baits. That Marabou really flares. But what you want to do is just split your ring here a bit on your back hook. You're going to leave that back hook on. I usually use the bigger split ring pliers for my muskie and pike lures, but I had this one out on the table, so it'll do it. Sometimes I have to do a couple turns here on it to spread it enough, and I'll drop the lure. But once you spread that open, you just want to toss this spinning tail on here, bucktail or whatever you want to call it, and you want to put it on the split ring. Now that's really important because you want to keep the action of the lure going as, you know, natural as possible. You know, I don't want it just going off to one side or whatever, and keeping that split ring on seems to do that for me. So that's what you're left with. You got your three original hooks, your tail, and your hook here. This one happens to have a weight on it, and that drags the lure down a little bit. Different type of action. You got your pulling weight, so it's just not moving as much as normal. I use that a lot to get a little extra depth, or when the water's cold, I often will use this and kind of work it really slow and let that hang through the water. I'll use the weight on plastic, rubber, tinsel skirts, but never on Marabou. Marabou, I don't like the weight. I like that to hang back there and flare. I'd probably say 75% of the time I'm not using a weight. I'm weightless. So you got that on there. Now the same principle can be used if you want to add a rubber trailer, like a big Kalen grub or something, a 6-inch grub. And again, you don't want to add it to the treble hook here. It'll mess with the action too much. What you want to do is get a split ring, attach a long shank single hook, and then attach the grub to that and let it go off back, and you'll have great action too. I'm hoping companies like Booker comes out in the next year with like actually a mix and match thing where you can have different tails and add to these baits. Little thing I've wrote into them about. So hopefully it comes true. But next time you're on the water, you're getting follows or nothing at all, think outside the box, do something different. Add a tail. Looks kind of funny, but you know what? Could be the difference between you going home skunked and catching that trophy. Now get fishing.